very German in here today. So, this black mass, decent movie by the way, this black mass in the desk that has absolutely no defining features on top of it is a Sennheiser HDV820. It does not loan itself properly for a Z review, and usually I would take the lid off of something like this so you're not staring at a black square or rectangle for the next 24 minutes. Guessing, but I can't. I literally, there's no break in the structure. So that means you have to like pull it apart this way, and I'm not doing that. So if you'd like to look at the inside of this thing, it is rather impressive. Keyboard is doing funky things. Look at that. I mean, you can't. I'll link to this in the description. Zeos, remember to link to this in the description. Interesting how the volume knob, the pot isn't here. There's a shaft, just like on the Dark Voice, that goes all the way back to like here, and then there's the giant multi-segment pot here. Everything is very German. This is the German special. Look, all the LEDs are board mounted for the indicator on the front, and then just clear tubes. Sennheiser logos everywhere. There's the ESS and the Xmos controllers for the digital. Here's the back of that thing. Look at the caps. And oh, whoever did this, thank you very much. Whoever the hell you are. Who are you? No name. Anyway, that's what the inside of it looks like, and it's very interesting, and I wish we could see it, but we can't. Instead, we have to look at Asuka Langley. I forget her full name. Sora Langley? I don't know. I played her in APB. I made a whole skin for her. Link to one of those videos in the description. How's that, Zeos of the future? Haha! You gotta go look for an APB video.
Oh.
Your mama's backing up. I'm getting emails. Johnny Bravo's. This is a fun one, isn't it? Okay. So, this is Sennheiser's... Sennheiser. You know, Sennheiser. They make lots of stuff. They make the goddamn Orpheus. And they don't make many amplifiers. So, when they have one, it had better be serious. And this is a very serious amplifier. Let me lift it up. It's only 5 pounds. You're probably going to want to compare this, Zeos, compared to the Sony. The Sony has a lot more going on, but this sounds better. But the Sony's got a lot more going on. I'd probably pick the Sony, even though this sounds better. Let's look at the fascia of this beast. Power button. It's very nice. It's analog, no digital. It clicks in. The white plastic around it illuminates gently. We've got a 3-pin XLR. Some people have XLR headphones. Like one XLR. I'm just like, who? But in there is the 1/4 inch. There's your 4-pole balance. And then 2, not 1, but because Sony's supporting it, 2 Pentacon 4.4 millimeters. You've got your selection switch, which is a very nice USB optical coaxial, unbalanced and balanced. The first LED is to show off if DSD is present. My only problem with the actual build of this is it's very smooth and poppy, right? So if you push it in, you hear it pushing against the metal, and it's like, grind. So I would have fixed that with like a little nylon washer there, Sennheiser. Here's your volume pot, which is, the word is robust. Of all the volume pots I've done, of all the volume controls, this one is well indicated. It's not lit, but it's got a nice white line. It's big enough you could just finger it, and that's it. It just feels good to turn it. Another complaint I have is this control is so close to this. Like, I've got thick fingers, but you can't actually get in there without like squeezing a finger through. So they should have probably moved everything over like a little, like there's some space here. They could have just probably, so if you're using it like this, you're fine. But if you actually grab it on the narrow bits, you sort of like, it's like the Terminator when he gets his arm crushed. It feels like that. Slight design flaw. I don't have German fingers, I've got American fingers. And some women wish they had American fingers, if you know what I mean. Now, boring to look at. Just like, it's just uninspired German block. And here's the thing, the RME ADI2 is also German. So it's not just, okay, Zeus is making fun of Germans, all Germans. No. There are Germans who built the RME and went absolutely above and beyond with features and things and settings and everything else. And the thing is, that costs less than half of what this does. This costs twice as much as an RME ADI2. So let's see if that's worth it. Hashtag probably not worth it. But if we are comparing, and I have to do this because I touched it, and whatever the reason is, all the metals on all these cases just find that I'm Italian and leave fingerprints behind. Want to look at the back? Oh God, you people are asking a lot. Let me shut it off. It shouldn't be too hard to plug back in, right? Where are the release buttons? They're in here somewhere. Are they? There we go. That, this. Okay. I'll unplug the headphones too. By the way, I want you to note that I have 5 headphones in this desk that I've been regularly testing things with. 3 of them are mass drop editions. So I kind of want to put my money into some mass drop stock. But they also do funky things. Like, I got the 5.8X Jubilees. I've got the Ether CXs. And the brand new, even you don't know about them if you're watching this today, which you're not, DT77X Goes, which are German. Oscar German, Berdynamic made in Germany, Sennheiser made in Germany, everything's German today. Back of this, look at this thing, it's just power. No master power switch back here, it's just on the front. Your balanced outputs, which, look, this is what you get with Z-Reviews, alright? Sennheiser didn't send this to me, a user sent this, a patron sent this to me. He gets the episode where they're literally filling a truck with garbage in the background because it's too hot to close the window. The analog outs, which I am going to show you in a second because I have these Emotiva PA1 amps, the monoblock amps, and the absolutely astonishing as fuck Mica RB42s. You get the digital in section. I like how they just like circled it, but they didn't quite go the lines all the way. They didn't want to, you know, make it too complicated to look at. So they just sort of like boxed it in around and said, here's your digital in here. And you got optical with this crazy big plug. I don't understand. Is there like an optical plug that has like sides? Is that a reason why this is so fat? Don't lose that. USB, coaxial digital input, no AES, which I think for $2,400 I should probably have AES also. Even though no one really uses it except for studios, but come on. You get, the analog in section is XLRs, RCAs unbalanced, and then, and this is a unique feature as far as I can tell, you can take a screwdriver and adjust the input gain on the RCAs. Only the RCAs, the XLRs are not affected. This is going to be a running joke, the entire thing. Enjoy it. Enjoy it with me. Because I don't... Okay. I think it stopped. We're good. Anyway, 100 to 240, you don't have to get a transformer for this. 18 watts consumption. We should talk about power specs, right? I'll plug this all back in now that you've had a look at it. We should talk about power specs. Switch off. Because unlike every other device on Earth where they basically... I went one too far. They tell you in a range. They say, okay, at 32 ohms, it makes this much power on balanced and unbalanced. And at, 50 ohms, or at 120, or at 600. This unit only tells you one power spec ever. And it's approximately 480 milliwatts at 1 kilohertz at 600 ohms on the XLR4. So they don't give you even a separate spec for the 1/4 inch unbalanced, because, obviously you're a loser, because there's only one output on this that is unbalanced, and that's in there. And you have to use an adapter. I'll show you what that looks like. It's going to be like, boom, there's your 1/4 inch / 3.5 millimeter. These are balanced, this is balanced, this is balanced. They want you to use this balanced. Well, I gotta do a thing where I stand up, plug things in, have this set. Again, I touched it with my hands, my dirty, dirty YouTuber hands, and I gotta rub it down. I'm assuming you're not gonna be molesting yours as much as I molest this one, so you shouldn't have to do the gentle. Actually, this is very therapeutic. I find myself doing this a lot of the time, and I'm just like, I don't even hear shopping carts literally being crashed into children. That's what it sounds like. Not that I would know what that sound is specifically. Power up, relays click. Now, the front selector, you get to pick between all those inputs, and I have the Geshelli Labs Enog going unbalanced into the unit, and I'm using fiber optic from my computer, and it's running whatever, it's running Wasapi, so it's running 44.1 purely from whatever the hell's playing. And the only real feature of this unit, because there's no high-low gain, there's no choice to turn on or off the back outputs. There isn't. It just is. The back outputs are currently, they're running. I have to have the amps turned off in order to control that, even though there's no choice to make those a line out or pre-out. It's just pre-out all the time with your headphones. You plug a headphone in, nothing happens. Nothing shuts off. There's no switches. Did you see any switches? No. This is the most rudimentary of amps, and it's $2,400. So that's why if I'm like RME ADI2, absolutely quality and so many features, and it's like, yeah, maybe you don't need those features. But then Sennheiser comes along and goes, nah, you are doing German wrong. Let us show you German. Ta-da. That's it. You don't pick the outputs. You don't pick the outputs in the back. I'm amazed you get to pick the inputs and they don't just make you unplug it every time. But what it does have, and I started on this statement, is it will soft fade between inputs. So if I switch from unbalanced to coaxial, it'll fade out and fade back in. If I switch from coaxial to optical, it'll fade out and fade back in. It's lovely. It's a lovely thing it does. However, that also means if I switch fast enough between the unbalanced and the coaxial input and the fiber optic input, if I switch past the other one in the middle, it will fade immediately from one to the other, so I can compare the internal DAC to the unbalanced input of the Geshelli Labs Enog. And the only thing I can tell with my ears, with all these headphones, actually listening, is that the volume of the Enog is slightly less. I can't adjust that's on maximum output. I've adjusted the switch. It's very big jumps, by the way. That adjustment on the back, let me see if I can find it real quick in the manual. Oh, there it is. Yes, are you going to tell me? You're not going to tell me, are you bastards? Oh, here it is. It's on this page. I was just on it. The gain adjustments on the RCAs are as follows. 14 dB. So this is every time it goes click, click, click. 14 dB, 22, 30, 38, and 46. That's a 32 decibel swing on that knob. Like, I had the RCAs in and I was just turning it and I was like, oh, that's too quiet. Oh, that's probably perfect. Louder! Holy fuck! Just, oh my god. Like, if you have the quietest source on earth, if you're using like a speak and spell and you've wired to the speaker output you're putting into that, you could adjust this. You almost don't need a goddamn phono preamp. That's how much gain you could throw into the RCAs. I wouldn't run it like that, but you could. If you have a quiet phono pre and it's like set up and you can plug into that and go click and you've got like 8, 9 more decibels per click. So those are the only options. Those are the only options on this entire amplifier. This entire 5-pound German $2,400 amplifier has a knob for RCA attenuation, and it will soft fade between inputs. The end. No remote control, no nothing. You can't check filter settings, no app, nothing. And I kind of like that. I'm pretty sure most people are going to go, well, and I'm just sort of going, well, and then we're just sitting here nodding at each other. Let's talk about how it sounds, though. Because, as you know, I am quite fond of the THX Tech, and when I did the big Sony, which I'm sure came out before this because I reviewed it before this and it's on the Patreon already, when I talk about the big Sony, I say what it's lacking is THX. It's lacking the most modern tech. It sounded very good, very clean, but it was still just, there was no reason to spend $2,000. And if I put this on, and these are T60 RPs, by the way, and I'm running it balanced through the custom, I want to show this off because I built this a long time ago and I love it. So the T60 RPs, you can get a balanced cable for it. It'll accept a 3.5mm 4-pole. But Amazon sells 3.5mm 4-pole wires. That was a good one. And I literally took an XLR plug and I soldered in and glued in a 4-pole 3.5mm. So now I can do this. And I have balance for my T60 RPs. That's right. Praise the work I've done. It's amazing. And it just fits in here, and that's nice. Because they want like $80 fucking for the wire, or more. I don't remember. It's a lot. These are $300 headphones to start with, and you're not going to give me that cable? Fostex. So, here's the magic of this amp. They only tell you that one volume, that one power spec, right? And a half a watt at 600 ohms is a lot. I don't think I've ever heard of anything that even gets close to that. You get usually, you read specs, and you get like 200 milliwatts at 600 ohms is a lot. So getting nearly half a watt at that level is a lot of watt. So when I go to turn these up, when I go to turn any headphone up for that matter, because I pull out the ethers, they're hard to drive, these are not bad, these are big old planars, and these are super easy. When I put any of these headphones on here, I don't pass the halfway point on anything. On fucking anything. Every single headphone, no matter how hard it is to drive, just seems to be driven anywhere between, like that's quiet, and now you're dying. All the time. That's just all of them. And I don't know if that's circuitry design or something specific and it's auto switching for the, if it's doing like an IFI IEM match, but for every headphone, and just, I've never seen it where I just, usually on this, I'm like, okay, this is not good. Gain, fishing for gain and balance, and you've got to try to find, every headphone I plug into this just is at 10:30, like there. That's it. That's just put it there, glue the volume control in place. A beautiful knob that you could turn, and it's so lovely to turn, and the edge is sharp but not super sharp. So, fucking German magic. More German magic. Those noises are getting to me. But I like it. I need to be distracted. Oscar, calm me down. Don't think about the past. I like this headphone amp. I like it. I like the way it sounds and behaves more than I like the Sony. But the Sony stepped up and was beautiful. Had features, had options, lit up, did just the metal casing. It weighed like 13 pounds. That was an event, the Sony. Had the screen on top, and it had buttons and menus, and you could actually adjust things. And this is just German amp. So, I mean, look, this thing is so expensive. You know, if you could afford one. And if you had the choice right now, if it was laid out in front of you, of the Sony amp, the HDV820, or an RME, and like a good, you could get the RME and a fucking Canon IHA6, and that would shit on literally everything. And I'm going to link those two things in the description, because that would give you insane balance power from the Canon, and you'd push that output through the goddamn ADI2, and you'd have every option on earth, and a beautiful digital volume control, and a remote, and visualizers, and so it's back to that old school, like, what do you want in your life? Do you want that thing I just described, that little stack? Or do you want to have just a dedicated Sony and you're done, or just this dedicated thing and you're done? A lot of people don't like this amp, and it's got to be the lack of features. Because I don't hear anything bad happening. I don't think it's quite as sterile as the 789 is. But that could be a good thing, and that's usually weird because, you know, German amps, just German, just, did you put the butter on my bread? That is too much. No, relax, that's flavor town. I don't know, I'm trying to do a real bad German accent. I need to go to Germany. Please go fund me to go to Germany, or the Rocky Mountain Audio Fest. If you haven't seen, I have a GoFundMe for that, because I'm trying to get the presidential suite and then show off cheap good things. This would not be in the HiFiGuides.com room at RMAF. Because it doesn't make the do for cheap enough. A goddamn JDS Labs Atom and like any DAC, they make the do. This is sort of like, this is a luxury item. We're back to Zeos Platinum again. What does that start? What do you think, 1,500 and above? If a single unit costs that much, it's automatically platinum, but like a $1,000 unit, $1,000 headphone, I think any average Joe could fucking afford that if they tried. Anything 1,500 or more is like, oh, Jesus, I have to stop eating. So, unplug this for a second. Let's plug in. Let me tell you this story. So I was using this thing, right? And yesterday, I was getting ready to do it yesterday, and what stopped me from doing it yesterday is I had the 4.4 Pentax plugged into this side, running my 1060s, and then I have the Ursine cable. It was just loose. There was nothing plugged into it. I just wanted to plug it into this so I could switch between the two to see if there's any signal difference. And as soon as I plugged this XLR in while that was playing, it dimmed the left side of my headphone. The left side just dropped away. Or the right side dropped away. It was the right side dropped away. And I was like, what just happened? Because that shouldn't have done anything. It was literally plugging a dead cable in. But yet, this side just went, And I checked another headphone, and then I checked the plug, and I went, oh god, it's not working. And I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and it still wasn't working. And then I unplugged it for 5 minutes, sat here contemplating what it would be like to try to get one of these fixed. And then plugged it back in, and everything was fine. So there's no indicators, there's no screen, there's no light that even says, hey, you know, even the 789, if you plug something in and it has the ground issue and it goes into a warning state, the little LED turns red for a second, and then back to white. This didn't even click and just went, and just left channel. This right channel went like half volume. So, what the fuck, Sennheiser? I'm glad you fixed yourself, but that leaves me in like this quandary state of like, well, maybe it's a little too simple. A lot of these amps, like this reference here, the Italian reference amp, very expensive. A little more expensive than this, actually, maybe. I think I should tell you that. But it has no safety features whatsoever, to the point where you can't even leave a headphone plugged in and turn it on and off, because it might discharge through this thing. But that's what it is. That is Italian fucking nonsense, and that's why I love it. This should be very careful in German. The RME has so many safety features. I've explained them. I don't even remember. It was like a 48-minute video where you plug something in and it like warns you and then tells you a thing and you got to turn a knob. It's like it's trying to save you. And this is just, you should know better because you are German. If you're using this, I think Sennheiser assumes every person that's using their amps is German by birth and will have obviously studied the manual, which I studied the manual. There's no features. It's 20. Let me see, hold on. Where do we get to the actual end? It's 28 pages. And this one explains the USB standards, and this one's the specs, cleaning and maintaining it, how to clean it, how to connect headphones, which literally means plug it in. There's a great one over here. The first page is, let it load. First page, we're gonna get down to like the third page. Important safety instructions, how to update the firmware, package contents, process, over right here. Putting the HDV820 into operation. If that isn't the most German way to say, let's use the amp. Yeah, and it's got like links to other pages. It's very, very simple. I can this is even more simple. All right, this is as costly as this and is even more simple, but it's crazy. It's got all this power and required. It's got Italian flair. And this has got German flair. And German flair, if you've ever seen it, no, you fucking haven't. That's the point. So, simple can be great. But if I'm paying this much and you're trying to do all this, you're trying to give me a DAC and an amp and an output, oh, it's time to, let me listen to these for a second, then I'm switching to the speakers. Actually, oh, the song's fading away. I'm like, wow, I'm putting the volume up really high. 38 special, wide-eyed Southern boys. Yeah. 12 o'clock is like thumping. Again, completely different headphones. Thumping. And I do like the way it sounds. I do like the way it sounds. Now, I don't have a set of HD800s here. And as you know from my reviews of the HD800s and HD800S, is they are very, very picky about amps. So you would think that Sennheiser's own amp would be the best amp for it. But I think that's what people are complaining, that it's not. Again, Noon. Completely different design, shape, everything, headphone, same amount of thump. Why I saw the boys. Wait. Is that a gay song? Am I gay now? Shit. That song may have... I didn't come out. I'm not out. I'm plugging this. Because that's the only way we turn the amps on. Which is super convenient that they're all behind there. They're off because they're waiting. If I turn this up, those should click. The output on this, here's the thing, I could switch now, unbalanced. Now we're coming off the Gashelli Labs through this and acting as a preamp into the XLRs. I love the way these speakers sound. Fucking love. With these amps, through this as a preamp. Because I've been using the SMSL M300 and my coveted Emotiva Control Freak, and it doesn't sound as good as what's coming out of this unit. So tell me how that's possible, Captain America. Again, by the way, halfway it's like everything's gonna die because these have no gain controls on them, and it's just exactly the same. But you have to shut off the amps because it outputs in the back and the front at the same time. There's no shutting it off. Why, Germany? I'm calling the entire country into hello, hi, Germany. All Germans are watching this. Explain this to me. Because I'm sure Sennheiser, you'll get to know it at some point. I would love if, like, just another button, just somewhere, just like I push this in and now the output in the back goes. Even if it was back here and I had to flip a switch or something, outputs on in the front, outputs off in the back. Just, you know, pick one. But it's not, it's all the time everywhere, which benefits almost nobody. Because if you have powered monitors, which essentially these are at this point, because it's speaker and amp in a unit, you have to shut them off physically to disable this. And it's not like it's a full line out where it's just outputting from the DAC all the time and you have to deal with that with something else. It's literally designed to be controllable. So I don't get it. Thank you.
15, 16, when I really started to play guitar, I definitely wanted to become a musician.
It's Giorgio Moroder. Okay, I'm done with this review. I think you guys get... I love the way it sounds. I really do. It's clean, but not to the point of like too sterile. It powers everything I have on it. Mama's so fat she beeps when she backs up. It's overpriced. I'm sure it's not overpriced for the engineering inside of it and all the chips used and the way it was built, but it's overpriced compared to the competition. If the Sony amp is cheaper than this, then it's just like, well, this should equate equally to having like some of the feature set that has. Because they both have similar, I'm assuming similar power, I can't even judge it. And while it's the same exact tail with a Sony amp as this, is like, well, better, well, not better, but cheaper things that are goddamn near perfection exist. So you better do stuff, you better do things. I'm okay with something costing a whole shitload of money if it does things. This does not do things. This just plugs in and makes headphones go, which maybe is all you want. I don't know. People are very, very picky about this subject. Simple is great, but do you need to pay $2,400 for simple? Come on, up in here. Like this, one of these. I got the Axis coming back, like the Germans and the Italians. Like, what are you doing with this? So yeah, I like it. If you have one, it sounds really good. You should be proud of that. What you should not be proud of is Sennheiser sold you something with no features at all. And, you know, it should. So, done here. Oscar Sora Langley, I think. Wallpaper in the description. Please set that as your phone background. She's not best girl. I still think Marie is best girl. don't question me. Link to this. Link to the Army and Cayenne stack. Link to the Sony that I'm referring to. What else? These micas. Oh my god, these micas. Hello, babies. I'm gonna stop listening to headphones on this right now because I really, really, really do enjoy the speakers more. And I'll see you tomorrow. Alright? Click links. Buy shit or don't. I have merch. Buy that or don't. I don't care. Enjoy music. That's the real question. That's the point of this channel. Is like, alright, Zeos, have you enjoyed your music more to the point of wanting to throw $2,400 or something? And it's like, not really. So, let's keep that nice, cheap Zeos Platinum thing going, and I'll see you all tomorrow.